slightly different from the other MCU movies. This particular film about Shang-Chi has been a little fraught because there's one particular character that has got a lot of apprehension in China, maybe even beyond China, and that is, of course, Fu Manchu. And it is widely agreed that this particular character is a symbol of racism and also anti-Chinese sentiments. So how does the new movie handle this character and the offensive legacy that it represents?
Well, you know, that is just one of the truths about the early comic books, that Fu Manchu was a part of that story in the early comics. Fu Manchu is not a Marvel character. Fu Manchu is not a character we own or would ever want to own. And that was changed in the comics many, many, many years ago. And we never had any intention of doing that in this movie. Fu Manchu is not in this movie in any way, shape, or form. And it is, I think, important for people to know that and understand that. And when they see the movie, that certainly that'll be the proof. But that is such an offensive figure, and was never anything that we had any interest in doing. We want heroes that look like all of our fans around the world, and heroes that our fans can look up to and feel that wish fulfillment to want to be a part of. And it's about inviting people into our world, not keeping people out of it or keeping people separate from it. So definitively, Fu Manchu is not in this movie, is not Shang-Chi's father, has not been for decades, and again, is not even a Marvel character.
Who is Shang-Chi's father in this particular movie?
Well, Shang-Chi's father is a new character created for this movie, whose name is Wenwu. And the most exciting thing about it is he's played by one of the greatest actors in the world, Tony Leung. And that's what really sets it apart from any of the characters from any of our other movies, is that this is a very unique character that you can almost not even call a villain. This is a story of love between a father and a son, but misunderstanding and conflict. And that's what we're anxious for people to see in the movie, between these two amazing actors.
There's also some worry or criticism about the Shang-Chi character, and the people say that he has abandoned his Chinese roots and has embraced West. And even in one particular version, he eventually killed his father. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes. I mean, as with all of our Marvel Cinematic Universe films, we often change stories from the comics. That's certainly one of the elements that we've changed. There is conflict between them. Many things happened in these comics. All of our comics go back 60, 70, 80 years. So almost everything has happened in almost every comic, and we choose the elements that we like to turn into an MCU feature. So that story is not what this movie is about. What this movie is about is a hero who did have conflict with his father and his father's legacy as he was growing up and wanted to run from that. The movie is about him returning to it and learning the deeper truths about what happened when he was a child and who his father really is.
And there's also a Chinese saying about fictional characters being partly righteous and partly villainous. And that's probably the kind of combination that fascinates people. So without, since I haven't seen the film, and most film fans haven't seen the film, we are guessing that this character is probably more like or closer to some of the great characters that Tony Leung is famous for.
It is 100% true, Raymond, and I'm not sure I could even have said it better myself. That is exactly what we wanted the character of Wenwu to be, and that is exactly what Tony Leung, as you mentioned, is famous for doing. All of our best villains in our movies are torn, are flawed, just like the heroes. You look at Loki, you look at Thanos, you look at the best of the villains across the Marvel films, and you feel for them and you understand them. Tony has brought that times 10. This is a character that people, I believe, are going to really feel for, and might not agree with everything he does, but understand the reasons he does them and understand why there is both these warm, loving memories that Shangchi has for his father, but at the same time, this conflict that they have to hopefully try to resolve in the movie. It is very heartfelt. And when you see the trailers and commercials, there's big action and big spectacle and big fights, of course. The heart of the movie is Tony Leung and is the character of Wenwu.
Let's move on to Shangchi, or more specifically, the actor. What is the rationale for picking Simu? Because obviously you can afford a big name star, and there's a lot of misunderstanding or not understanding among Chinese fans that it seems Marvel is keen on finding new talent.
Well, that's absolutely right. And if you look at many of our origin stories, more than half of our origin characters were lesser known or unknown actors. I mentioned Loki earlier. Tom Hiddleston, one of the foundations of the MCU today, was a total and complete unknown. Chris Hemsworth, Thor, was a complete unknown. Chris Evans had been in some movies, but was not necessarily known as a marquee hero. And of course, Robert Downey Jr. was a known actor, but not for this kind of heroism. And when we first announced many years ago that we had cast Robert Downey Jr., social media didn't quite exist back then, but it was very beginning of it, and it was not positive. There were a lot of questions as to why we had done that. And I'll say the same thing now that I said then, which is see the movie. Wait until people see the movie and see this character come to life. Simu really was able to embody the heroism, the flaws, all of the relatability that all of the best of our Tom Holland, who plays Spider-Man for us, was essentially an unknown. And Spider-Man is probably the most famous character we have. So it really is about finding the best person for the part and allowing them to become the character, and letting the movie and the effort and all the hard work that the performer does be the proof, and not just the announcement or the Google search when somebody learns their name.
All Marvel films have great fighting sequences, and this one, because it's mostly Asian and it's set in Asia, I heard there's a lot of influence from Hong Kong cinema of the 1980s and 90s. Is that true? Is that fair to say?
I think redefined and revolutionized fight choreography, and you'd seen a lot of that obviously spill into all action films. Frankly, it was fun on this one to focus it in sort of the purity of both the kung fu and the martial arts itself, with that heightened Marvel action that comes with having additional powers, which Wenwu does have, and which Shang-Chi also gets, which is that's where the Marvel aspect comes into it. And we had a spectacular stunt team, many of whom originated from the Jackie Chan stunt team. And I'm very proud of the work that they've done in this movie, and I'm excited for fans of all genres of films to see it.
Any particular source of inspiration that you can divulge here without spoiling the plot?
Well, I think people will see, as with all of our movies, setting out to make the best story. All of our films are inspired by, we're all lovers of film at Marvel Studios. We're all fans of movies. So all of it, every movie we've made has influences from other films and genres. I think in this, you'll definitely see, certain elements of the great Ang Lee, of the great Zhang Yimou. The incredible work that they've done over the years has influenced us, in addition to, as you say, the stunt work of the Jackie Chan stunt team and the Hong Kong cinema of the 80s and 90s.
We all know that Marvel is determined to be inclusive. We see different races with different stories, different narratives. Why you expand this universe? What is your vision for the future, and how is your experience so far?
That Marvel heroes can come from anywhere and can be anybody. Mm-hmm. And that really is what all of our films are about today. And that's, again, why Shangchi becoming a part of the pantheon of Marvel heroes is so exciting, because of his specific story that you'll see unfold in this movie, and how he's overcome his own flaws and his own sense. That sense of running away that you asked me earlier, that is presented as one of his flaws. It is a flaw to run away to the West and to hide from his legacy and from his family. That's how the movie is presented, and how he will face that and overcome that is part of what the story is about. All of the Marvel heroes are based on relatable human conditions and relatable human flaws, and it is not getting these magical 10 rings. It is not getting bitten by a spider. It is not having an iron suit. It is not having a magic hammer that makes you a Marvel hero. It is overcoming your inherent flaws and overcoming the difficulties you have in life to become a better person that makes you a Marvel hero.
Overcome one's inherent flaws and to be a better person. Thank you very much, Mr. Feige, for talking with me and to answer my questions. After the pandemic-induced doldrums of the film market, I hope that we can again safely enjoy the movie-going experience, and we'll cherish that experience even more. So good luck to you and to all the filmmakers and all the film goers throughout the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wonderfully said. Thank you.
Thank you.